Car crime is no longer random. In this, the 21st century, it's organised and big business.
You've got a low-risk crime with a high-gain profit.
Joyriders have been replaced by organised gangs, using cunning and resourceful car thieves to steal our cars to order.
He operates 24/7, he's got unlimited resources, he doesn't respect borders or boundaries.
Going to extreme lengths.
Just sheer terror, and it was very quickly that I saw the gun.
I'm gonna blow your head off! Drive!
Using mobiles to film themselves stealing one of the world's most expensive cars.
He filmed his own crime. Not only filmed it, but saved it on his phone.
Making the most of lax borders to run criminal export businesses.
How long has this been going on? I wouldn't like to guess. It upset me too much.
You're under arrest for unhandled stolen vehicles and money laundering. Investigation.
Tonight, on the front line with Britain's top stolen car squad, as they go after criminal gangs to reveal the truth about car crime and big business.
We're finding less and less every day. And there's only really one reason behind that, is that they're actually leaving the country.
Ten years ago, nearly 400,000 cars were stolen each year in Britain. Today, thanks to greatly improved car security, this figure has fallen to 176,000. Good news. Or is it?
Because of the improvement in security, our car crime's dropped about 35%. But what we see in London is an escalation in organised vehicle crime.
In Britain today, criminal gangs have turned car crime into big business.
Teams are actually going out, identifying cars that they want to steal, and then taking them, cloning them, which is re-identifying them and selling them off to innocent purchasers.
And it's happening everywhere. In Cambridgeshire, gangs are actually selling stolen cars from people's driveways. But the police are onto them. Detective Sergeant Peters is after an organised gang who have based themselves in St Neots in Cambridgeshire. And the cars they're selling are cloned.
I'm going to the areas where these cars have been sold from. There's two sort of housing estates really. One side of the river there's the Amesbury area where we've had a few vehicles sold from. On the other side is Eton Soaking where we've also had vehicles sold. First off, it just started as one isolated incident, then more and more came in. So you've got a team who are going out stealing the cars. I think they're then being punted out to people who know or have got the equipment to change the car's identity, because also you've got to remember you've got to have tax discs, and usually they're stolen from post offices with stamps. You've got to have V5 documents, people who are going to sell it. So there's quite a large group of people involved in one conspiracy, and it's still going on. It's still happening in St Neots.
The gang are con men, using this quiet residential area as their office.
They turn up, they phone the number they've been given, they would then be told, oh, I can't make it, but my son will come out. Next thing you know, sort of from that alley there, somebody would appear, show him around the car, give him the keys, yeah, it's repossession, take him out for a test drive, pay the money, and then next thing you know, as I said, when they get it home, it's stolen.
DS Peters' investigation began when this man, Darren Poon, a stock market analyst from London, became a victim of the St Neots gang. CCTV cameras show him going into the bank, followed by the St Neots conman, withdrawing £13,000 for what he thought was a legitimate family car, and handing over the cash.
It was quite a good price. It was in good working condition. We were happy to purchase it, and we liked it a lot.
Darren discovered the truth about car crime for himself when his wife gave birth to their first child.
we decided that that vehicle was just not big enough, you know, to get the car seat in and the pram and all the shopping and all that kind of stuff. So we decided to go ahead and look for a larger car.
Darren decided to buy a used car. To ease the process, he turned to the internet, soon finding the car he wanted, a red Land Rover Discovery. He travelled from his home in London to St Neots, an area he didn't know, to meet the seller, and handed over £13,000 in cash.
Everyone was happy with the car. Everyone was thrilled with the car. You know, we had something that we could get around easily in now, get all the baby stuff in as well, especially when they have to visit the in-laws and stuff like that and bring up everything.
It was only when Darren Poon got round to washing his new Pride and Joy that the truth started to dawn on him.
Well, I was giving it a really good scrub down, and I noticed a VIN sticker under the vehicle. It's quite strange for a VIN number to be in a sticker format. Normally it's stamped into the metal or something like that. And I felt it, and it felt like there's an embossed number behind the sticker. Basically, my heart sank.
It sank even further when he called the police to report his concerns. They came, confirmed it was stolen, and took it away.
It's left us in quite a dire situation because right now we've lost our money, we've lost the car, and no one seems to have anything or any process to protect someone like myself. I did a HPI check, and I also did a check with a company called My Car Check. Everything came back fine. And, you know, what else can someone do? You know, the VIN tags matched the registration mark. It was all fine.
Although the conman was caught, thanks to CCTV in the bank, Darren got nothing back. The Land Rover's insurers told him he would have to buy the car again from them. So he forked out another £13,000.
It's an expensive item. The idea that you can just flog it to somebody casually and there's no checking on whether that person that I'm selling it to, who they are, where they live, what their address is or anything else. It's very vulnerable to crime.
Back in Cambridgeshire, it's 7 AM and DS Peters and his team are after another member of the St Neots cloning gang.
We do know this particular male. We have dealt with him a couple of times before, but you never know what's going to happen, so you always have to be prepared just in case it goes wrong.
Most car crooks aren't early risers.
Steve, gone round the back? Oh, right.
Today we're going to arrest a chap who's been selling motor vehicles from his driveway. He's been arrested before, has admitted parts of his involvement, but on this occasion he's also sold a Range Rover Vogue. As a consequence of that, we have some forensic stuff on him that we can put to him in interview.
We're outside now.
We're looking for...
Morning.
Give us a plate.
Can I get some clothes on first?
I'm arresting on suspicion of fraud by false representation and handling stolen goods. You didn't have to say anything that may harm your defence. If you didn't mention or any question something which later on in court, anything you do say may be given evidence. Yeah, my colleague will escort you upstairs, so make sure you get some clothes on.
This is unbelievable. This is bollocks. You're getting fed up.
Well, so are we, to be honest.
Can you make sure you've got a key, John?
Mum, I need to find some boxes, because when they put me in a cell, I'm going to have to take my belt off and my trousers and keep fall down. Pain in the arse.
I think he was a bit shocked by the early morning call. He's not too happy. He thinks it's harassment, but my view, should be selling cars off his drive.
If I known you was coming, I'd have been ready, wouldn't I?
Funny enough, I didn't ring you first, did I?
No, you should have done.
The arrested man isn't the criminal brains behind the outfit. He or she remains at large. But for DS Peters, this is a step in the right direction.
So the time arrest, please, James?
7:35. 2 offences, handling stolen goods and suspicion of fraud by false representation.
This gentleman that we've arrested is really a sort of minor player, we think. You look at his sort of lifestyle. It sort of means he's not making a great deal of money out of it, and I think he's probably just sold the vehicles, taken a couple of £100. As soon as you take one out, somebody else goes, well, I'll do that. You know, it's just the way of the world.
And then are you suffering from depression or any other mental?
Not yet. Maybe soon.
Are you right to read and write? Yeah. Chocolate, tea, coffee, no, breakfast, magazines, no, that's all right. Newspapers? No. Okay. See you in a minute. See you in a minute.
Britain's car manufacturers are doing their best to deter criminals from stealing their cars by designing in crime prevention. In Birmingham, this accessory company has come up with an idea which uses biometric technology, a car that only starts if it recognises your fingerprint.
I'm going to try to start it, and it's not going to have anything. You will not be able to start this vehicle. We've located the scanner up on the roof. Right, it's asking me for my fingerprint, so put my fingerprint there. Right, it's accepted the fingerprint, and that you tell that by the flashing green LED on there. Right, turn the key, and the vehicle starts. As simple as that. I am going to put on here a finger that is not recognised. That's read it straight away, and within a few seconds, I will receive a text message on my mobile phone saying there's been an unauthorised attempt to start my vehicle. So, there you go. That's how quick it is. Unauthorised driver is given my position, longitude and latitude of where my vehicle is.
Many hope biometrics will be the big breakthrough in cracking car crime and putting the criminals out of business. But some have their doubts.
One of the problems about crime prevention, very often if you stop the easy crimes, you reduce the crime, but you kind of up the violence, so that's what you risk doing.
Which is exactly what happened to this woman in London's Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. South Kensington is a car crime hotspot. It's home to some of the capital's wealthiest residents, driving the most desirable cars. When Lucy Eady set out to visit friends one evening, she had no idea that her expensive car would put her very life in danger.
It was about 8 o'clock at night. I was heading out to have some dinner with some friends, and I was probably no more than about half a mile away from my own front door when this incident happened. I was driving a new car, Volkswagen Touareg.
Lucy's car was fitted with the latest immobiliser and alarm. In truth, her security was so good that there was only one way thieves who had targeted her car could get their hands on it.
I was coming up Knaresborough Place in South Kensington up to the Cromwell Road, and I was the first car at some traffic lights, and it was a red light, and I was suddenly made aware of the fact that I had a motorbike coming up beside me. It was a moped or something with two guys on it, both wearing black, both wearing helmets, and looking in the car. It was all so quick. One thing, I saw him looking through the window. The next thing is he was sitting on the seat beside me. My thoughts when he was getting into the car were just sheer disbelief followed by terror, and it was very quickly that I saw the gun, so I knew that there was something quite hideous happening. Psychologically, it's incredibly disturbing. When somebody is threatening to kill you and you're in the incredibly close proximity of a car, you're in this box with this monster. I didn't say a lot when he got in, and I didn't say a lot throughout the whole ordeal. He was the one who kept on shouting. He was wearing a motorbike helmet, so it was very difficult to determine. You know, I knew he was a white man. Don't know what nationality.
Drive! 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 I'm gonna blow your Drive!
That's all the guy could ever say to me in the car, was not that he wanted me to get out of the car, whether I had any money. He just kept on going on how he wanted to blow my brains out. Drive, just drive. And so I did. I drove through the red light into the Cromwell Road. The car had to stop because there were cars in front of me. It was just natural instinct of just thinking, I've just got to get the hell out of here. And I, at that point, opened the car door and ran. And I ran behind me because I just thought he was going to shoot me. But, you know, he could aim better shooting in front of the car as opposed to me running behind. And I called the police immediately. I mean, I had my mobile phone was in my pocket, thank goodness. by the time you get onto the right services department. In an incident like that, it's all too slow. I heard them coming out into the streets, but by then he was the other side of London probably.
As terrifying as her ordeal was, Lucy is one of the luckier carjacking victims. 25-year-old estate agent Tim Robinson died of stab wounds after being confronted by two teenagers when he parked his car in Battersea. And father of three, Mohammed Ashraf, died when he was stabbed 18 times as two men stole his car.
We believe there's around 10,000 incidents a year, but there's no actual category or no box to tick for monitoring carjacking. But it is part of the issue of cars being so difficult to break into now if unattended. If you are keen on stealing a particular model or make of car, it's just much easier to actually brutalise the person behind the wheel, get them out of the vehicle, threaten their safety and drive the car away.
The demand for expensive stolen cars is so high because the thieves are feeding an international criminal vehicle export business.
The little person in the chain, their cut of that vehicle is relatively small. That then gets multiplied by maybe 5 or 6 or 7,000 to the middle person, who then simply takes the vehicle from the thief, then maybe does some form of cloning if necessary, and then that moves on to a shipping container and then out of the UK, and then the person at the other end may then be making their slice.
The people making their slice have become so big that Britain's police forces have had to change their strategy completely.
It's not the Bobby on the beat that can deal with this. It's far more organised. It crosses police boundaries, it crosses international boundaries, and it requires a totally different response.
London's police chiefs have responded by ordering its specialist stolen vehicle squad to aim high. This unit has been chasing car criminals of all shapes and sizes for over 40 years.
But it looks like they've gone out on clone identities.
Now they only go after the big boys, those working in the business of shipping stolen cars abroad.
With the Cypriot authorities, we are speaking to them verbally.
We work out villains that are crossing police boundaries to make money from their criminal enterprises. Therefore, the investigation needs to look into the organisation, who's the boss, who are the thieves, who are selling the cars. Some of the people we've looked at have got criminal profits of between £500,000 and £2.5 million. It's a national and international organised crime network that's out there.
Up to 20,000 luxury cars are stolen from the streets of Britain each year and illegally exported to countries like Cyprus, the United Arab Emirates, Africa and Spain.
The use of that kind of process is almost like the Trojan horse. If you think back to your history days, the Trojan horse was a gift. The Trojan horse gets taken inside the city and the men jump out. Well, on this occasion, the Trojan horse is the car. It drives through the ports undetected, and when it gets to the other end, it's not men that are jumping out, it's cash.
Cyprus is one of the biggest destinations for Britain's Trojan cars. It's an attractive market for car criminals, since the Cypriots drive on the same side of the road as the UK, and it's an open market. Cypriot taxation laws mean the crooks can make more profit here than in Britain. Also, the Cypriots just love their cars.
Population-wise in Cyprus, there's 850,000 people. Number of vehicles registered here is 1 million. So when you take out of the equation the children, elderly people, etc., etc., you can probably equate sort of every person on the island owning probably about 5 or 6 cars each, which that astounded me.
DC's Simon Ashton and Mike Pilbeam from London's Stolen Vehicle Unit are two of Britain's most experienced vehicle examiners. They believe the scale of criminal activity here is larger than even they imagine.
The vehicles are going out, coming in, being undetected. You know, once we start sort of, as I say, opening up this corridor of communication, the problem may escalate into something bigger than what we think it is at the moment.
The Cypriot police are just as concerned and have started to crack down on this criminal trade. They've been seizing cars they believe to be stolen from the UK, but they need the help of the British car squad.
English vehicle index, Lima Kilo 06 Oscar Victor Golf. They're reliant upon us because of the information coming out of the UK is not as free as they would like it. We are sorting that out so that they can have a direct link with UK sources.
Direct links are one thing. Training the Cypriot police to recognise a stolen British car is quite another.
There's only a certain amount of secrets, I suppose, and knowledge that you can write down. Most of it is mainly sort of personal experience that you can obviously pass on to other people.
Whatever their lack of first-hand knowledge, the Cypriots have clearly been seizing the right cars.
Right, shown stolen since the 29th of the 4th, 07 from E4.
Just had a fax sent through from the office back in London, and it confirms that the Range Rover that was stolen last year has been shipped out and been re-registered in Cyprus on its stolen identity.
Identifying cars isn't an easy job.
The hardest thing is trying to find identifiers, stamped in chassis numbers. Obviously, I need to know the ins and outs of each car.
As they confirm the stolen cars, Britain's car cops are uncovering a worrying truth about getting bent cars into Cyprus. You don't have to go to too much trouble.
What we're finding is some of the cars that have been shipped out to Cyprus have come out on bogus UK identities, and they're just changing the number plates, but all the other identification marks on the vehicle, like these stamped-in VIN numbers and the visible VIN numbers, they haven't been altered, and then they've been registered in Cyprus to get a Cypriot identity.
The police team are also finding cars that have been hired from rental firms in Britain and then shipped here.
From my examination of here, it's a real vehicle, it's the genuine vehicle that was manufactured by Mercedes. It's not a clone vehicle. However, there is an allegation on this particular vehicle that it was hired back in the UK and not returned at the due date. They've gone and given false details for the purpose of stealing the vehicle. Easy and simple. I'm surprised at the ease of which they do it. I mean, how long has this been going on? How many vehicles have come into this country, and obviously they go on to other countries? I wouldn't like to guess. It would upset me too much.
DC Ashton's upset is today offset by the joy of recovering so many stolen cars.
Since we've been here, the vehicles that we've taken for further investigation, we're probably nudging about £1 million worth.
And it could have been even higher if the thieves had got their hands on more of this type of stolen car.
This is Bentley GT, automatic, about £100,000 worth of vehicle. Probably less than 10 shown out stolen on the UK register. What have they spent to actually get the vehicle here and change the identity? Probably a couple of thousand, if that, you know. So quite a handsome profit for just one vehicle.
This trip may have been a success, but DC Ashton knows the truth. They are not yet on top of Britain's car criminals.
In the majority of crime, you're one step behind, and we'll never ever stop them. But we're not that far behind them.
The Cypriots too believe they are catching up and remain confident that they'll be able to reduce the amount of trafficking in stolen British cars.
The authorities of both countries are fully aware of the problems. We strongly believe that eventually the culprits will be arrested and prosecuted.
Back in London, the car squad is starting to see the fruits of its labours. After a 24-month investigation, DC Ian Slaney and his team have shattered a gang who earned millions by exporting stolen luxury cars via Holland to the United Arab Emirates in the Middle East.
By smashing this gang, we've stopped millions of pounds worth of vehicles that had been stolen purely because of their value and the fact that they can be taken to another right-hand drive country where they can be sold for market value.
The gang were responsible for stealing one of the world's most expensive sports cars, a McLaren SLR, worth over £300,000 and one of the fastest cars on the road.
It's a very rare car and very desirable. There's only 1,600 made, I believe, and actually in the UK it probably maybe 20 or 30.
When DC Slaney and his team first came across the gang 2 years ago in London, they used hidden cameras as part of their covert surveillance.
Can you get it now?
Yeah, go on. Keep going.
Yeah?
Yep.
When we first visited the address, we actually saw this car sitting outside on his driveway. Now this is an Audi RS6, and it was displaying German number plates at the time, which we thought was odd because it's a right-hand drive.
It wasn't long before they got sight of the Mr. Big they believed was the leader of the gang.
This is the first time that we actually physically saw him. This is the man, Mr. Imran Khan Ganchi.
As soon as he could, DC Slaney seized Ganchi's Audi and examined it.
This is the Audi RS6 that we seized. Charlie 0253 Alpha.
What he found surprised him.
It had actually been rung onto a car from another country.
I'll ping it off, yeah?
They'd seen a car advertised and they'd actually copied the details from that car and put them on this one. I'll be videoing everything as it is.
When DC Slaney & Co went in to arrest Ganchi, their covert video cameras were there too.
Video's running. After much noise inside, he opened the door and you could see him running around thinking, what am I going to do? Coming in with a video. There was just so much there, he couldn't possibly flush it down the toilet or rip it up. Mr. Ganchi was surrounded by forged registration plate making machines, VIN numbers, everything that you would expect to find for someone involved in a major conspiracy for shipping stolen cars. Into the first bedroom. There's packs of number plates in there, blanks. On his driveway was a stolen BMW X5, again on German number plates. Okay, this is the key that we took from Imran Khan Ganchi's pocket. We're going to see if it opens the vehicle, and there we go. And it's open. It was one of the best finds I think I've had in my career. There was identities of numerous vehicles, pictures on his computer, on his cameras. We had hundreds of identifications for vehicles that we already know had been stolen in the UK. There we go. We'll now put some gloves on and we'll see if it starts it. No, it's now open.
Range Rover, service book, chassis number.
We also found some personal belongings belonging to Miss Tara Palmer-Tomkinson. When we made checks, we realised that her car had in fact been stolen some 3 or 4 days previously.
How the gang had obtained the key to Tara Palmer-Tomkinson's car remains a mystery. But mobile phones recovered during the raid provide a clue, and the discovery of a new 21st century way of targeting and stealing expensive cars.
They'd drive around and with their mobile phones they'll put on their notes or a text message the registration number and the VIN number of the car. Once armed with that information, they were getting someone to forge paperwork, the vehicle registration document, MOT certificates, insurance certificates, and they'd actually take those documents along with a forged passport to a dealer in Europe. They were relying on the dealer falling for a story of my car has been locked in a car park. I'm stranded in a foreign country, please help me out. And they were actually applying for a spare key for the car. They'd then travel back to the UK, simply walk up to the car and drive the car away. This person that we took out was a major player in organised vehicle crime.
Taking out the major player wasn't enough. Ganchi's gang were still at large and responded by driving their stolen cars to Birmingham Airport and hiding them, legally, in the car park. They didn't notice the CCTV system. This is Miss Tompkinson's BMW entering the car park, followed by another stolen Mercedes. And here, 3 members of Ganchi's gang are caught leaving. The alarm was only raised when an attendant's suspicions were aroused and he called the car squad.
We're at a car pound in Birmingham and we're dealing with this 645 CI Cabriolet BMW that's on these number plates.
The stolen BMW led DC Slaney right back to Ganchi and East London.
At Mr. Ganchi's home address in Ilford, we found a number plate making machine. Now, this machine had actually kept imprints of the number plates he'd been making on a reel. We sent the number plates from both these cars to the lab, along with the reel that we recovered from Mr. Ganchi's address. And the lab was actually able to say that the exact number plates on these cars in Birmingham Airport had been produced from the machine that we'd seized in Mr. Ganchi's home address.
Armed with the evidence they needed, the car squad started to systematically smash Ganchi's gang with a series of dawn raids.
You're under arrest.
Some didn't even have time to get out of bed before Slaney's men were in.
Offensive, aggressive, but you don't have to say anything for the main harm of offensive, and I'll mention one question.
Mr. Yusuf Kaduji has been arrested. Been searching this dustbin, and inside I've just found a ripped up tat stick, so it's got another 10 months.
And once again, mobile phones seized by the police revealed the truth about their activities and their barefaced cheek.
Fucking no, this is a beef.
This is the extremely rare McLaren SLR, the only one stolen in the UK at the time.
Come on, quickly, show us.
Incredibly, the thief filmed himself taking it.
An SLR McLaren you don't get to drive every day. He thought, I know, I'll preserve this for years to come and show my mates, look, there's me driving a £1/3 million car. He filmed his own crime, and not only filmed it, but saved it on his phone.
There was just one other member of Ganchi's gang to catch, the master forger. DC Slaney had just one clue, a single fingerprint, but it was enough for them to find and arrest the man at his house in Luton.
He was a design specialist, and he managed to produce some of the best forgeries that we've seen on this unit for some years.
Getting stolen cars out of the UK has also become an art form. The truth is, Britain's container ports have become overwhelmed and a prime criminal shipping source.
The ports within the UK are effectively a sieve. The length and breadth of the UK ports are shipping containers out of this country. The level of data that's actually required by the freight forwarders should include the details of the full content of the container. There is clear evidence that that is not the case.
Tilbury on the Thames is one of the largest ports in Britain, with only a small number of police dealing with vehicle crime. They know they've got a problem with stolen luxury cars passing through, but there's been little they can do. Today, that changes. A crack car squad led by DC Griggs has moved in to help.
It's a huge problem. At the end of the day, theft of vehicles seems to have levelled out. The recovery of those vehicles is not... We're finding less and less every day. I mean, there's only really one reason behind that, I think, is that they're actually leaving the country, mainly via the ports. Just take that down in case you need that.
Griggs knows ports. He worked at Folkestone for 4 years.
Port Police have this week, they've looked at what's travelling out of the port, and they've requested certain things to be put to one side for us to come and check today as part of the operation.
Griggs will coordinate a week-long blitz on Tilbury's containers, based on information he's received.
One of the aims of today and this week is to actually get some sort of idea as to the scale of it, really. Could be we find none, could be that we find their container has got one of our vehicles in it.
Right, love. Super. We've got intelligence that a number of vehicles will be exported in containers. The unit here are primarily concerned with, obviously, counter-terrorism, immigration, and there's only a small unit actually deal with vehicles.
The intelligence includes putting 2 and 2 together when examining container manifests, which often conceal the truth.
chocker with boxes.
Just going to see if we can get a small mirror in there.
We've certainly seen it on, well, too many occasions to recall, where we've gone down inside and there's cars or vans or motorbikes or whatever in there. The electrical goods are a good cover for it. If you look at that, it's the sort of thing we would have to unload virtually item by item. It's very time consuming, quite expensive, and we can only do one at a time.
Sometimes hitting pay dirt is all about hunches and experience.
There's some inconsistencies with the manifest on this one, which we need to check out. Sometimes it's clerical errors and sometimes it's purposely mismanifested. We won't know until we check it out.
Household effects and used fridges and freezers.
There's no time to wait. PC Whitaker has another suspicious container in his sights.
Stand back. Car radiator. That's used in every good household. Although some people might keep car spares in their houses.
A lot of motorbike bits, moped bits.
They're obviously weighed on the weighbridge, and I think this one alerted their suspicions because it was so heavy. Obviously, we've opened it up, and there's a number of engines and gearboxes and bits and pieces, and obviously that increases the weight. That's one of the reasons why we've stopped this container. Does anyone want to check on that?
We haven't got a bin yet. We've only got bits of it over.
The container doesn't contain a car.
Whiskey 748 Victor Golf Foxtrot, over.
But it is a stolen vehicle.
What force area was reported stolen in, over?
Someone's Pride of Joy there at one time. Actually stolen in 2005, and it's on a 2003 plate. This one has obviously seen better days.
And the squad's having one of its better days. There's good news about the BMW for the police.
The BMW is actually a stolen vehicle. I think it was stolen from Warwickshire. Again, it's another classic example of quite a high-value vehicle being exported without interception of the port's police. That vehicle would have never been seen again. And once they are exported to outside the UK, it's often very difficult to get those vehicles back.
Interpol estimates that illicit trafficking of stolen vehicles generates £10 billion for criminals worldwide. The biggest losers in all this are the insurance companies, and they've started resorting to unusual ways of trying to get stolen cars back. They're hiring bounty hunters, like Barry Hancock from Brighton.
This is a Mercedes CLK that was in Dubai.
He's no dog, the bounty hunter, but he is a rare breed, paid by insurers to go to the countries where their stolen luxury cars have been shipped to, find them and bring them home.
Well, it's very difficult to keep up with the professional car criminal for the simple reason that he operates 24/7, he's got unlimited resources, he doesn't respect borders or boundaries, whereas the police have to operate within certain parameters. They have to respect borders, they have to respect boundaries, and this is one of the core problems, I think.
There she is. Well, it's nice to see her home at long last.
Britain's new bounty hunters are making a good living, as the insurers increasingly turn to them.
Thank you very much, sir.
The reality is it's a growing market. It's very lucrative for the bounty hunter. They can locate the vehicle in a foreign country by normal means, simply by observation, wandering around, looking for the vehicle, check to see whether it's on the register as being on finance or outstanding stolen. And then what you're saying to the insurance company is, I know where your asset is. Agree with the insurance company a settlement figure, and then effectively the bounty is their reward for recovering a stolen vehicle.
So far it's just got a small dent in it. So. This was one of a number of vehicles which was stolen by a gang that was operating in the UK. A lot of them were shipped to the UAE to go further afield into Africa and Asia and the Middle East.
Barry created his business from a gap in the market.
The business side of it is to try and recover their losses. Ultimately, the police are not there to recover assets. They're there to detect it. They will help with seizure, but when it comes to recovery, that is not their job.
The truth is that the police are unable to put a complete stop to the illicit container trade.
That is a huge financial cost. To scan every single container completely, absolutely completely, that leaves this country, we would grind the country to a halt.
Feeding the organised crime car export business is a full-time job, and many 21st century car thieves are now going nowhere near the streets or car parks or your drive. They simply steal your identity, walk into a car showroom and steal a valuable car by using bank or hire purchase finance.
We know of, for definite, at least 1,000 cases of vehicle fraud affecting finance companies each year. And to put that in perspective, that costs the industry, and therefore our customers, something like 17 million. The end victim for this kind of crime is the average man in the street, because it means that he is paying a higher price for the product than he would do otherwise.
London's Car Squad is onto this new way of stealing cars. DC Hargreaves has become an expert in what is called vehicle finance fraud. Already, he and his team have recovered £5.5 million worth of cars which have been taken in this way.
There's a massive nationwide problem with finance fraud, primarily because it's so easy to carry out. All you need is some fake documentation. Go into a dealership, and because the dealers want the custom, more often than not, they could get the vehicle, and once they've got the vehicle, they'll probably make one payment, two payments, then the vehicle would disappear. They're very clever, very resourceful people, more intelligent, and they are more difficult to investigate.
DC Hargreaves is now hot on the trail of another major vehicle finance fraud criminal.
Of all the driving licences you can see before you on this table now, it's the same individual. These are not forged driving licences. They have been issued by the DVLA, but they've been applied for fraudulently, using other people's details. On each occasion, just slightly altering his hair and slight variations in facial identity, but there's no doubt that it's the same person.
Ironically, this car crime fraudster only got rumbled because he liked to drive around in the cars he obtained by finance fraud. It made a sharp-eyed policeman suspicious.
We carried out checks on these vehicles, found out that they were on finance, and that's when we found that fraud had taken place on virtually all the vehicles.
The Audis and BMWs were all registered to one address, a restaurant in East London, and the identities the man was stealing belonged to restaurant employees.
He's in possession of one forged passport, obviously with his photograph on somebody else's name. That's a 12-month prison sentence. In my view, he's definitely a professional fraudster. This passport was examined by the Immigration Service, and they believe that it is a very good forgery indeed. So obviously he has an associate who's part of this network who is expert at forging UK passports.
Meanwhile, down the road in Tilbury,
That's it, my boy.
the crackdown on stolen car exporting is in full swing. The 4x4 is worth more than £50,000, but is it stolen?
It's a good find. Good find. We've done a check on it, and it's going to Johannesburg
and it's come up as finance. So we've contacted the finance company, and they don't want it to go, obviously. It's brand new, so a few thousand, 50, 60,000 pounds with a motor vehicle here.
It's potluck. One day, lots of stuff can get shipped. Next day, everything could be legitimate. I mean, that's the shipping industry. We don't know exactly what's going out and what is. We've got to physically come here, get down and get dirty and get the numbers and check them. That's the only way we can do it.
It's not only containers the police are interested in. Tilbury also ships a huge amount of roll-on, roll-off stock. The crooks use this as a pipeline as well.
Most of the cars with stars on the windscreen have already been checked by the local force here. We're looking at sort of high-value vehicles. Just a selection, really, the ones that haven't been picked out already.
Have you got the last 5 of the VIN number?
Right. They fill the boots with a load of other goods, and then they weld it shut, so the goods inside don't get stolen when it reaches its destination.
Yeah, that checks out. Thanks, mate.
So we're also quite suspicious of vehicles like that have been parked right at sea. You can't see the registration plate, and some of them have been ripped off as well.
DS Tidy has his eyes on a car which looks a cut above the rest.
Could you get Claire, obviously, to make a phone call to them to see if the finance has been paid and if they want it seized?
Yeah, all right, Mark. I've just spoken to Claire. It's confirmed they don't want it to leave the UK.
Someone has obviously financed their vehicle originally and stopped paying for it. They still owe several £1,000s to the finance company, so that one won't be leaving the country, definitely not. If we had not found this today, it would have been on a boat to West Africa and almost certainly would never be seen again.
It's very difficult to keep on top of finance fraud because we can only investigate what we find or what the finance companies send in as a suspected crime. So there are other offences taking place out there that we don't know about.
You'll see there 2 different photographs. Now these are both genuine. That's a genuine driving licence, genuine passport, and they've been checked with both DVLA and the Passport Agency.
In Manchester, car cops from all over Britain are coming together to work in concert against the organised finance fraudsters. This team is part funded by the finance companies themselves.
Initially, we'll be knocking on the address. If there's no answer within a reasonable time, then we'll be forcing entry.
The squad are after a gang who specialise in fraudulently obtaining Aston Martins. They got onto them when this Aston was picked up by police in the centre of Manchester.
We are up bright and early with some Greater Manchester officers who are going to assist us by calling on 2 addresses this morning. One is the person we believe to be in charge of the Alex Khan Group, and the other is the person we believe has signed the agreement and committed the original fraud. And we're looking to search both premises to find any paperwork and any evidence in relation to the agreement.
DC Ruff is leading the second team.
Looking for a gentleman called Mohammed Ammar. Basically, he's taken out a finance agreement in order to buy a Aston Martin. It's alleged that he's basically become a director of a company, and the sole purpose of becoming a director of the company was in order to take get the finance for the vehicle.
Both raids are carried out simultaneously.
Hi, it's the police. Can you open the door, please? Open the door immediately, please. Hello there. I'm DC John Nowles. I work with the AGCO Vehicle Crime Intelligence Service, the Vehicle Fraud Unit. I'm under a search warrant to make inquiries regarding either Omar Hamid, Mohammed Islam, or Alex Khan. Can we come in, please?
The second address is also occupied, and it's the man named on the warrant.
We're looking for documents and items related to the Alex Khan Group or other related companies. Okay. Okay, that's what
Is it Mohammed, is it? Mohammed. All right, Mohammed. Do you want to have a seat for a minute? I've got warrants to search your premises. Basically, it's in relation to a fraud that's occurred.
In the loft underneath the two, there's a firearm which has allegedly been dismantled, but...
The firearm is only one piece of potential evidence they've found.
Driving licences have been found already, and various other pieces of documentary evidence that would be obviously used to our inquiries. Also in the roof area there's a firearm that's been found. It's apparently licensed, but obviously our inquiries will have to look into that.
At the first house, the woman who answered the door is claiming Mr. Khan, the man they want, isn't at home.
Well, there's only one occupant, just a female, single female. She's denied any knowledge of the chap we're looking for. Although there is mail at the address for him. But there's a room that's locked, a bedroom that's locked, so we're going to, if you don't find a key for it, we're going to put the door in. It's a bit too suspicious to have a bedroom locked in a family house.
Suspicions are aroused even further when a man turns up, saying he's just finished a night shift at the local supermarket. He says he isn't the man they're after, and he and the woman of the house don't know where he is.
They claim that he doesn't live here, that he's been disowned by the family and everything else, but she's got his phone number on her phone.
I asked you a specific question, didn't I? Yeah, and
Well, do you want to take it down now?
It might be in dispute in your mind, it's not in mine. Okay.
She's got a legal background, and so she was only saying what she needed to say. They've got a huge amount of seized documents and intelligence relating to the target. It's an Aladdin's cave, it has to be said.
The man from the supermarket has been arrested because DC Nelms is convinced he's involved somehow.
Documentation we seized from the room that he claimed to be his relates to the company we were looking for and the people we were looking for. So I arrested him on suspicion of having articles in his possession to commit fraud. And the vehicle behind is going to be picked up today by the finance company because that's on finance as well.
At the other address, there's also been an arrest on suspicion of fraud by false representation. And the cars around the house are possible finance fraud cases as well.
This car's belongs to the owner of the property. We've checked it and basically it comes back as the financed vehicle as well.
Back at the team base in Manchester, the results of the raids are being assessed. The key to the Aston which kicked off the investigation was found at Mr. Khan's house, along with several others.
We've got a selection of keys here. We've got the ignition key for an Aston Martin, which obviously the vehicle we're looking at, the one that was fraudulently obtained. This one was seized from one of the bedrooms. Yet another key for an Aston Martin. So they're all things relating to Aston Martins, really. Again, we've got a logbook there, a manual relating to an Aston Martin as well. So it's all hard evidence.
If he turns around and says he's got no link to Alex Khan, he doesn't know anything about it, then why is his name, address, date of birth linked on a director's report from Company's House? And these are the items of proof of identity that he's actually used at the dealership. There's question as to whether the photographs are the same person. Although sometimes when you're looking at commission on a £110,000 car, your attention might be elsewhere at the time.
At Tilbury Docks, the crackdown on stolen car exports is nearing the end of the road. For this time. The team believe there's a stolen Porsche behind the electrical goods. Time for Plan B. A broom handle, a mirror, and some luck.
Well, there's a will, there's a way.
You've got to offset the cost, you see. £120,000 with a Porsche.
Yeah.
Into the £599 broom.
It costs more than all the lines. Yeah. What do you see? Nothing?
They have none. There is no Porsche. But for DC Tidy, there is one last roll of the dice.
got a car in the back there? Go and sit number plate. Do you want to take that?
Appears to be a Mitsubishi Pajero stuck at the back of the container, and it's covered with household goods, including chairs, pedal cycles. It's not particularly secure, so we've obviously got to make sure we can get through safely without injuring ourselves. How you doing? Can you get to it at all?
You can see the roof of the car.
Is that the front there, man?
Well, I can see you've got the windscreen here. You see inside with the torch, you can see inside the vehicle itself. This is obviously the front of it, completely. But they've obviously covered it up with cardboard and mattresses. Last owner has reported in tray as of the 21st of the 4th this year.
This car isn't stolen or a finance fraud. It's been hidden in the container to save money by avoiding export duty.
So by putting them in there, they can hide them away. So they do that with stolen vehicles, but they do that also to prevent them paying any taxes. There we go. At least we can find out what it was. Result.
Most of Britain wishes there would be more results. But the inconvenient truth about car crime is that it's as bad as it ever was. It's the way it happens that has changed.
I think you can get to a stage where you make it harder and harder and harder to steal cars and less people will do it. But like any crime, there are still very intelligent, very sophisticated, very organised criminals that will still try and steal cars and make a profit from them.
But the police believe there are ways we can thwart the new breed of car criminals.
The dealerships should carry out more checks because the offence takes place when the person goes into the dealership, produces fake documents, and that's when the problem initially starts.
If we can get the cooperation of the end markets where these vehicles are going and get them seized on import, this will make the thieves' life a lot more difficult.
In the meantime, the thieves will continue to make our lives difficult because they have such a lucrative business. Better even than the drugs trade.
It is true that to take a vehicle aboard and realise the asset and get the cash is a relatively simple process. And put that into drugs, high risk and potentially low gain. It doesn't take a lot to work out why vehicle crime in general is a more lucrative form of crime.
The crook from Cambridgeshire selling stolen cars off his driveway pleaded guilty to fraud and handling stolen goods. The mastermind of the multi-million-pound gang exporting stolen cars was jailed for 6 years. The thief who recorded himself stealing the McLaren sports car on his mobile phone got 2 years. His accomplice got a 12-month suspended sentence. The gang's master forger got 3 years. Lucy Eady's carjackers were never caught. But she did get her vehicle back. All charges against the men involved with the fraudulently obtained Aston Martin were dropped.